back to Seeking Success Podcast, #1 podcast in Toronto. We're here in Miami, baby.
Yes, sir.
And we have a guest from Canada.
Woo.
You're actually our second Miami-based guest who was from Canada and moved over to Miami. So
Nice,
pretty cool.
Nice. I think it's a trend now. I'm seeing this exodus.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the story. So, how'd you go from Western University to now in Miami?
From West, I mean, that's, you know, I appreciate the fact that you think that's a short story.
That's like a light year ago, right?
Yeah, that was a while ago, man. So that was 30 years ago that I finished Western.
Wow.
A little less
We're
than
not
30
even
years
30
ago.
yet.
Crazy.
Yeah. That's longer than you guys have been alive. Yeah, man. I mean, look, it's like a typical, you know, entrepreneur, like immigrant entrepreneur story, right? So, like, I was born in Ukraine, and I came over in 1976 when I was 3 years old. I actually came over as a refugee.
Oh.
So yeah,
wow.
my family came over as refugees. In Canada was very, you know, gracious in their immigration policies at the time.
Oh, sure.
And we came over, and yeah, I mean, like, I went to school like all the other immigrant kids did, and, you know, junior high and high school and stuff. And then eventually, yeah, I went to Western. Yeah, and then from there it was just, you know, I worked. I worked at, you guys ever heard of Future Shop?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They've been closed down for years.
Yeah.
So that was like my first job.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I worked at Future Shop. So right after university, I got a degree in geology, and after I got my degree, which is a degree in nothing, and, it's a degree in nothing.
God.
And I got it's a degree. Listen.
Wait, what is geology? Is that rocks?
Yeah, it's a study of rocks.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, it's a study of rocks. So yeah, I got
wait.
Yeah.
You went to Western for that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a Bachelor of Science. Listen, I went to Western just to get out of the house and like not live with my
Party
parents.
and shit.
I was
Party.
19 years old, right? I was 19. I didn't really have my life figured out at that point. So I went and I said, I'm going to go to Western because it was the only school out of all the school. I applied to 3 schools, and that was the only school that was out of the city. So I said, that's where I'm going to go.
Solid.
So whatever. I liked science. I didn't have anybody guiding me. And
You like
telling me.
rocks?
Guys, I didn't have, you know what it is? You got to understand something. It's a different generation. And I think it's good for you guys to kind of look back and understand kind of what we went through, 30 years ago, where we didn't have internet.
Fair.
We certainly didn't have social media.
Fair.
You know, we didn't have the fact that you guys in your generation and like 19, 20, 21-year-olds today, you guys can scroll through social media. You guys already know how to invest in real estate. You guys know how to like set up a business.
Buy and sell stocks.
You guys know how to buy and sell stocks.
Crypto.
You guys know to sit on the S&P 500 for like 20 years and take advantage of compound interest. We didn't know any of that stuff. Like, we didn't know anything.
That's
so
crazy.
it's like, you know, you go to school, especially when you're the son of an immigrant, where, you know, had my family maybe had been here for a couple of generations, they would have said, okay, listen, you got to buy real estate. People in my generation, when we were in our 20s, like early 20s, all we had to go by was what our parents were teaching us. We didn't really have access the way you guys have access. And so my parents, who, you know, my dad was a realtor. Let's say my mom was like a homemaker, right? So it's not like I had access to the kind of information that you guys have access to. So that's a thing, right? And it's like you kind of figure it out. So when I was in school, it's like science is cool. I like science, but that's it.
That's great. But you know what's sad? We just talked about all the resources we have. There's kids still making the exact same decision.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
Gender
that's
studies.
Fuck it, I'm gonna go study rocks too. Like, you know.
yeah, but I think, you know, I'd be interested to see the stats on that. I'd be interested to see how many kids are now going to university and just studying shit that they like. Right? Because look, if you're a kid who, let's say you come from a wealthy family and you know that money's not, like, it's not a consideration for you, that you're going to be taken care of one way or another, then yeah, I mean, if you have a genuine interest in shit like rocks, then go study rocks. Right? But for me, I just knew I needed to be educated.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking like, how am I going to make money?
Fair.
I was just thinking, I need to get an education because I can't be dumb.
Fair. Okay, fast forward. So you study university, you learn about your rocks,
Yeah.
but you decide you're gonna be an entrepreneur. Was Deal Finder your first business?
So Deal Find, no. Deal Find was Deal Find was a few businesses in, and Deal Find was probably Deal Find was in 2012. So I graduated school in 96.
Okay.
So I graduated with my undergrad in 96, and then, like I said, I went to work at Future Shop. I worked for an online education portal. It was like an online directory for post-secondary education. I did that for like a year, and then I got fired. I got fired from everywhere. All my employment I got fired from.
Crazy.
And then at some point,
It's a lazy bastard.
yeah, well, it wasn't for me. I was just not a good employee. And then in late 1999, so like I kind of, messed around with employment for a few years. And then in late 1999, I started a company called Menu Palace, which was like an online restaurant directory.
Okay.
And that's like when the internet was just really emerging. Forget about social media, the internet as a whole. So it was, the internet was really emerging. And in 99, I started this online restaurant directory, and I would go to, my first client, I remember he bought an ad for $59.
Wow.
There was $59 ad for the year. That was my, and there was a pizza by the slice place, like on the Danforth.
But was $59 like decent money back then? What's that equivalent to like today? Like $100, $200, $500?
Like maybe 130, 140.
That's crazy.
For a year.
Yeah, that was for a listing on my like website for the year. And it was a pizza by the slice place. So I got that deal, 100, whatever, $59, and then I went to all of his neighbors. And I said, hey, like this guy's advertising on my website. You should be on my website too. And then one at a time, and we built that up to that was like a $3 million a year business.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a while, but we built it up to $3 million a year. But that's with like no business knowledge, no business education, no connections, nothing, right?
Wow.
So that was just like kind of hard work, and we grinded that out, and we built that out. And for the time, I mean, $3 million a year was pretty decent, right?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
$3 million a year right now is still pretty decent.
Well, yeah, it's a good. It was a good lifestyle business.
Sorry, we're broke.
No, it's all good. No.
Sorry, we're broke. $3 million.
No, it's all good. It's a good. It depends on the profit margin too.
Fair,
right?
True.
So it was a good lifestyle business, but I didn't know any better, right? I didn't know like what else was out there. So then, at some point, I saw what was going on with Groupon. There was this company Groupon in the States. And I saw it, and it felt like it was really up my alley. So I remember I invested me and my partner at the time, we invested like $30,000 into some dev work because back then in 2012 we didn't have Shopify.
Yeah,
we didn't have like a site that we could just go in, pay our like $300, $400, $500 a month, and have this templated solution. So we had to build it. So we had to hire like a programmer. So we built that. And that thing took off like wildfire. That whole space took off really quickly, and then we were able to raise like 32 million, 32 million, I don't remember, a year after it started. Wow. So we were able to raise that money. A piece of that money we were able to take off the table. So I was fortunate to participate in an exit there. And then the rest of it we put into what's called treasury. It's when you leave the money in the company for the purpose of expanding it.
Yeah.
So we did that. We did reasonably well with that. There was no other like exit after that because that whole industry tanked. And it wasn't just our company, like the whole industry went to shit. And then I just did like odd things after that. Like we did some affiliate marketing. I had a business that we monetized Facebook, like large Facebook pages. Okay. So we had like an office in LA. We were dealing with some like Hollywood celebrities. Like Mike Tyson was our client for a while.
Wow.
Crazy.
I had full access to like Lil Wayne's page at some point, and we were like, we were running content there. So I mean that was a really cool business. So we did that for a while, and then at some point I got married in that period of time. I had kids, and my wife, one day, kind of the story how the whole genesis. So I'll back it up a little, and I'll tell you kind of what I do, with my wife and our business now. So my wife is an influencer. Yeah. She has a combined audience of 6.5 million people across 4 platforms. We employ 15 people full time, and then us full time. So there's a 17 or 18 person organization. And we do brand deals. We've done like 1,000 brand deals. We do like a few hundred every year. Sure. And so that's the core business. And then the way that happened was one day I saw a wire come in for $10,000, and I didn't know where it was from. So I asked my wife, do you know anything about this? And she said, yeah, someone paid me to feature their product. I don't remember what it was. It was either clothing or cosmetics or something. And I said, like, what are you up to? What are you doing? And so she said, I make YouTube videos and I'm on Instagram. And this was back in 2017, right? So I said, okay. I said, somebody paid you $10,000? And she said, yeah. And I said, like, so show me. So she showed it to me. And she had like not that many followers, maybe like 25, 30, 40,000, something like that. And so I said to her, tell me what your day looks like. Like, what does your day look like? And she says, well, I spend an hour a day in front of the camera, like taking photos, making short videos, like shooting some recipes and stuff. I said, okay. And she says, and then I spend like 9 hours editing. I go, how do you know how to edit video? She goes, I looked it up on YouTube. I said, okay, proper. All right, good. I said, okay, let's do this. I said, let's hire a videographer who can do both videography and editing, like somebody who can do both. And let's, instead of you doing an hour a day in front of the camera and then 9 hours a day editing, let's get you in front of the camera for like 3 or 4 hours a day. And then another 4 or 5 hours a day, let's have you doing research. Let's have you like figuring out what type of content you want to explore, like doing research, making yourself like a better, it wasn't even called a creator at that point, just making yourself a better presenter. You know, so you can make better content and so you can make more content. So she said, okay, cool. So we hired, I mean, at first she said, no, this isn't a business. And I said, well, I really think that we have something here that can scale. And her question to me was, well, what if we don't make enough money to pay this person's salary? Right. And I said, well, what if we do? And she's like, all right. And she trusted me and she said, okay, let's do it. So we did that. And we started putting out just a lot more content. And then the volume of content, I mean, you guys do this, so you guys understand how this works. And, I saw this back in 2017, that this is a combination of both quantity and quality in terms of content output. So I said, okay, we need to really, you need to do it in this way. And so she started doing it and we started to get scale. And that's when we started to get real growth. And then simultaneously we were monetizing at the same time. So as the audience continued to grow and engage, we kept getting more and more inbound interest from brands. And so now we've built out the team where we've got multiple people in monetization doing, inbound and outbound and taking care of all that. We actually have a CEO running the company from beginning to end.
Wow.
I don't do it, but the CEO reports to me, and her and I speak almost on a daily basis. So that's what I've been up to.
Okay, now I got a question. So obviously you have all this information now, you guys know the ins and outs. Do you guys run an agency service where you're like, hey, we'll come and scale your personal brand?
That's a good question. So no, we don't, because the amount of work that we do just for Valeria requires the team that we have.
Fair.
So to me, I still see a lot of growth in my wife's personal brand and her as an influencer. Like I see us, 10xing her audience over time. We've now started a podcast, and so we have a lot of other initiatives. So I'm not really keen on scaling like an agency where we're repping other, other talent and then taking like a relatively small portion of the revenue. One of the things that I would be open to doing, we kind of dabbled in it, but it wasn't really something that I had a big appetite for, is potentially managing people's inboxes. The thing is all creators, they want you to go outbound for them. But the fact of the matter is, if they were good creators, they wouldn't need it. Because if they were good creators, everybody would be coming to them.
100%.
And where creators drop the ball, it's not so much that they drop the ball, but where there's like a white space in terms of they don't have the wherewithal to even like broker their own deals correctly. So when these deals come in and they start these negotiations, they're not doing a great job of doing that, of negotiating for themselves.
For sure.
So I would contemplate doing that, where we would manage somebody's inbox and make a percentage. But then there's complexities around, then once the deal is signed, there's complexities around getting the deal done, about the production, the back and forth with like editing to make sure that the clients are happy. So I don't know that I'd contemplate that, but we're actually on Wednesday, we've been working on this already for 6 months. We're launching like an online community /academy for creators. So we're charging like an annual membership fee, and then the creators will come in like right out the gates. They're getting like 42 video lessons that myself, Valeria, and our CEO Rachel we recorded it. So they're getting that. We're adding like, probably between 2 and 4 videos a month, like full length videos. And we're meeting with like the CMOs of companies that do a lot of influencer marketing, so influencers understand how that works. We're meeting with like for example, we already recorded it and I have some reels up. We met with the PR person for Gary Vaynerchuk in the Middle East. So his Middle East PR person, he uses an agency. So the head of that agency, her name is Maha. So I had her, do a video lesson with me. So that's the kind of stuff we're doing. And then we're doing like weekly video calls where myself and Rachel and Valeria get on a video call with the members of our community. And then we're doing like a private WhatsApp group for them so they can meet with each other and collaborate, maybe have each other on their podcasts, create, short form content together, and tag each other as collaborators and all that stuff. So we're doing that. And then I'm really excited about doing live events there. That's something that I'm, I really want to do that because I there's a lot of value in even if it's like, 10 or 20 creators, bringing them together, having dinner, having discussions on kind of best practices for content creation, and then collaborating, and then the content that you can make out of an evening like that with various creators at various sizes. So that's kind of my long-winded response to like on the agency side. I want to add much more value to the creators rather than just like kind of these transactional like brokering deals for them. I really want to teach them how to build long-term proper personal brands.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Fair. So question, what do you think like right now is the best way to grow as a content creator?
The best way to grow as a content creator, look, it's a lot of content output. It's a lot of really intentional content output. Like it's a lot of work. It sounds like cliche, I know, like it's all about working hard.
Post more, yeah.
Yeah, you got to post more. You really do. Like, people who come to me and they're asking me, how do I grow more? How do I grow more? How do I do it? They see what we've done, with Valeria, and they're asking me how to do it. And I'm like, guys, it's not complex. Like when I look at them, I go, let me see your account, and I pull up their account, and I'm like, you've done 2 posts in the last week. Like the fact that you're asking me, you just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me 2 reels a day, 7 days a week. Give me like 3 carousel posts, 3 or 4 carousel posts throughout. Give me really intentional. Captions on all of those posts. Share with the audience. Let me see, between 10 and 25 story frames a day. Using all the tools, using like the quiz tool, the polls, using all of that stuff. Let me see that, because once you do that, then we can talk about how to grow. Then we can do an analysis on, okay, what content, like out of your last 100 reels, which in theory should only take you 3 months or 4 months to do, out of your last 100 reels, like if you look at the top 10%, you're going to find a common theme. You're going to find a common element. Double down on that. 80% of your content should be based on these common denominators that you're finding in your top performing content, and then 20% should be experimental. So my long-winded answer to you on how to grow is you have to do the output. You have to do the output. You have to iterate. And so there's no shortcuts to it. There are exceptions, and you can go viral like Bobby Altoff.
Yeah.
And she has funny Marco, and then she the way she described it, she shot her shot with Drake, and Drake happened to say cool, and then he deleted the video after. I'm sure you guys have heard of all this. But yeah, stuff like that will make you go viral. That's great when that happens. But to do it in an actual sustainable way where you can build a career, you have to do it the way that I'm describing it.
But that's a beautiful way. You actually broke it down. Like that's solid. Now, what would you say right now, from your experience currently, which platform do you feel like is like the easiest to grow on? Now, I know that's probably niche dependent, but just on a broad scale, someone's like, what's the easiest platform to grow on?
So I think the first thing that people need to do in their thinking is take the word easy and just remove it from their vocabulary, because that's just not what this industry is.
Hey, fair.
Because I'll tell you what the problem is. Before I answer your question, sure. I want to provide some context. The challenge with this industry is that young people will look at this and they see the result.
Yeah.
They'll see someone like my wife with millions of followers and all these brand deals and they'll be like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. Yeah. What they don't see is they don't see the path. They don't see the last 7 or 8 years of 14-hour days of my wife crying because she's not spending enough time with our kids.
Yeah.
You guys aren't parents yet, I assume. So you don't understand what, looking at your wife and experiencing mom guilt. They don't see what's required to do it. So, again, now I'm going to get to your question. What's the easiest way? There's no easy way, period, end of story. In terms of what platforms are the
most organic reach, maybe is a better way to frame it.
The most organic reach is based on the quality of content, regardless of platform. It all comes back. And that's the thing, is that creators they don't want to take on the responsibility, right, of creating the content. And so when their reach goes down, they're never introspective and say, oh, reach went down because my content is shit, because I haven't been putting enough effort into it. You know what I mean? There's like, the algorithm is shadow banning.
Shadow banning you?
It's nonsense. There's no shadow banning.
That's like the funniest shit sometimes. When like someone that doesn't even fucking post, they post a story. Oh, sorry guys, you guys probably can't see my post because I'm shadow banned. Fuck you. I fucking hate
you're not shadow banned. You just suck. You just
one
suck.
thing,
Stop sucking.
no Diddy. One thing I will say though is I've personally found for my content, right? For some reason, I'll post the same thing on Instagram and TikTok, and like you said, I post like 2 times a day.
Yeah.
On good days, 3. Sometimes 1 if I'm feeling lazy or if I'm on vacation.
I saw.
But what I'll do is it's so weird. It performs better on Instagram compared to TikTok. But again, like Umar was saying, I think it also depends on niche. But I do feel like Instagram Reels right now, anyone could fucking blow up on Instagram Reels as long as you make a good reel.
So yes and no, because I know people who have been on Instagram Reels trying to do it from when Reels started and they can't get traction because their content just isn't hitting. So look, the platforms, regardless of the platform, they want you to succeed. Like they want your content.
Oh, for sure.
They have certain signals that they're looking for algorithmically, and they're going to push it out. And if your content isn't doing that, it's not like they're sitting there saying, "Hey, we're going to make this person blow up or that person blow up."
For sure.
Maybe TikTok was doing that in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
You
maybe.
think so?
Yeah. That's a whole other debate. But look, I think that when it comes to, you're asking me which platform, you have to do an assessment of your skill set. So if your skill set is, rapid storytelling through short form, then you got to hit, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. Right. And then at that point, you'll see, like, even for Valeria, I can tell you that, yes, Instagram Reels, the exact same content, really, the view counts are way higher on Instagram Reels than they are on TikTok and than they are on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the way it is. And I think a lot of that has to do with obviously varying algorithms, but it also has to do more so with varying demographics on those platforms.
100%.
Right.
That's
So,
a good point.
if you're a short form video creator, that's what you have to do. If you are if you're a long form video creator, obviously it's YouTube long form.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, like, what are you good at? If you're good at writing, like if you're better at writing than you are at anything else, I highly recommend going deep into captions on Instagram posts. People say, oh, you really have to prioritize Reels. I like to go kind of the opposite direction. I'm more kind of contrarian in my thinking when it comes to social media. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that everyone's right now pushing on Reels, and I'm saying, like, don't ignore it, like be on Reels. Mm-hmm. But if you're a good writer, then I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't really invest in your like writing skills and continue to develop that and put that in captions. And maybe like the photo could be even us like a carousel with text on it.
Yeah, like graphics or something.
Yeah, and you double down on that. So it's less platform dependent than it's more dependent on the talent of the individual, like where their strengths are.
Mm-hmm. Let's actually talk about the brand that you've built with Valeria. So you recently mentioned that she got $10K for a brand deal.
That was in 2017. Yeah,
they just started.
No, recently mentioned as in like a couple
I
of months
recently
ago.
mentioned it. Yeah, I understood. I got it. Yeah.
You did not get that, yeah?
No. Okay.
Right now, what's the brand pulling in roughly? Would you say on like a
revenue wise?
Yeah,
millions every year.
Wow.
Yeah,
fire
With an S. No.
with an S.
yeah, multiple millions.
And so you also said you guys have a massive team. What's this team doing? Like, what's their day to day like?
So, I mean, if we want to talk about like a rough like organizational chart, we've got our CEO who oversees the entire operation.
Yep.
We've got a director of strategic partnerships, which all of our brand deals are through her.
Okay.
We've got a person who then supports her and does some outbound work. Most of it is still inbound.
Interesting.
But we decided to go outbound as well, so we want to kind of control those those funnels, and we want to control that activity. So we have a person supporting her. We have a director of production, who
Content.
Yeah, it's content. It's both organic content and sponsored content. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we put out a lot of sponsored content, but if you were to look at it as a member of the audience, organically, you wouldn't even feel it. Like you wouldn't know.
Sure.
Meaning the message from the sponsors would be delivered to you, but we're so intentional in the content that we create that we go content first, meaning we'll put together a concept and see how we can insert an advertiser's message or product into the content that we know will perform versus the other way. That being said, and I'll get back to the organizational chart in a second, but that being said, if a client, we have some clients who are just super structured. So like guys like Dior, right? They're super structured. Like David German, they're super structured. Mm-hmm. They're like more of like a legacy brand, and they want certain things like a certain way. So like 70 to 80% of the content that we make for them, they want it in their structured way. And so we'll create that for them. We'll make it bespoke and create it for them. But in some cases, they'll say, just do what you want. And then we really shine. So we need a director of production to be able to, to do that. And then the director of production also facilitates the creation of organic content. And so she does both. And then we've got, I'm going to miss people, I know, but we've got 2 client relations people, like full-time client relations people. So once a deal is signed, we have client relations people who then work with the client. So they are the client's representative internally, and they'll work with our director of production. They'll work with Valeria, to make sure, the creative brief gets delivered correctly. There's a lot of logistics, especially when it comes to, like, we do a lot of fashion. So making sure the fashion gets in, making sure it gets into Valeria's closet, because then she's got, like a personal assistant who makes sure that happens. Then, we've got a full-time videographer who, is setting up the shots, who is filming the podcasts. Then we've got a full-time video editor. Then we've got 3-person finance team.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because when there's legal contracts, so we're going to make sure the legal contracts are there. We have to make sure that we issue invoices. We have to make sure that we're reminding our clients to pay our receivables, their payables, and then just handling the finance for the company. So yeah, I mean, there's some complexity to it. Just thinking, there's more. There's our director of I forgot the exact title, but like social media management.
Okay.
So
to post himself?
when you're to post stuff. To post stuff. I mean, that's
curate the feed.
That's I mean, to post stuff is kind of like an oversimplified way to put it. But like, I'll give you an example. Like, I had to contact her today because I wanted to put out a story frame for our new kind of community/academy, but I need to know when it's okay to do it, that it's not, there's no time conflict with, let's say, a sponsor who's running a set of story frames.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure, sorry, let me turn that off. We want to make sure that when they're running those story frames, like, they have some runway afterwards. We don't want to post anything organic or anything. We just want to give it a few hours. Yeah. Because our data shows that if you let it run if you just leave it alone, there's that. We have a data analytics person. So there's a lot of kind of science.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We were doing content crazy.
It's crazy. Look, it's I have a more of a traditional business background in terms of like operations and data analytics, and so it was that combination that worked well for Valeria and I, where it was her as an artist, but now she's very much caught up, if not exceeded me. I mean, she's learned at an exponential rate in the last 8 years that we've been doing this. So, but I'm always trying to keep her on the creative side, not because I don't want her on the business side, but because I want her really connecting. I want her focused, because for a creator, it's crucial to always have that connection with the audience. It really is. It's like nurturing relationships with your friends, right? Sure. It's really crucial in this, because social media, from a commercial perspective, in order to be able to keep people's attention, you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can do it through sensationalism, right? You can do it through being just a really good artist, like music, for example. I've seen your videos. Good for you. Yeah, your single came out, which was awesome. So you can do it through artistry, but it's a two-way communication. It's not. You have to keep that relationship going.
Yeah. No, okay. Now I want to speak of relationships. I'm actually married. Right?
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
You're a young man. Good for you.
Yeah. I just decided to get married early.
Good.
But how do you balance your husband hat and like the manager hat? My wife actually runs her own business, but I'm not involved in it at all. But I'm just curious.
Yeah. So just to correct you, I'm not a manager. I mean, we're business partners. We're definitely equal business partners. That's a good question. Look, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a challenge.
He's figuring it out too.
I mean,
it's easy.
We finally got to stop to the question, eh?
No, you're not. No. Look, it's a good question. It's a valid question. Look, you have to be careful to a certain degree, because it's like being in business with your partner in any business. So I have friends who have amazing operations. They have like CPG brand, like consumer packaged good brands. And it's tough, but this, I think, adds an even additional layer of complexity, because with Valeria, it's her, right? The product is her.
Yeah.
And so when I'm giving her kind of feedback on how things should have been done, like, yeah, she's going to take it personally. You know, I feel like we worked a lot of that out. I guess to answer your question, it takes time. It takes a lot of empathy. It takes a lot of knowing when to shut up. As a man. As a man, you have to know when to shut up.
For sure.
I place I have a very high regard for my wife, even before she proved herself to be this like savant genius who knows how to do what she does. I think it's a lot of respect. It's a lot of, you guys are going to laugh, but it's a lot of not raising your voice. It's such an easy hack, by the way. Not raising your voice is like the hack for a successful marriage. It really is, because what happens is, and this transcends both personal and professional, when you raise your voice, what happens is the other person gets immediately defensive. Defensive and simultaneously offensive. Then they raise their voice. Then you raise your voice even higher and higher and higher, and things escalate. And then those loud voices, those screams, they really take over the relationship in a very negative way. So one of the things that I said to my wife early on when we first met is I said, look, no matter what happens, no matter how mad we're going to be at each other, how much we disagree, let's never raise our voices and keep things calm and quiet. And we always have. And we hardly ever fight, because that first escalation never happens. When you disagree and you raise your voice. So that never happens.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Yes. And when that never happens, then it never escalates past. It never goes past it. I know it's kind of like ambiguous.
Yes.
I'm answering your question.
No, you are.
But truly, that's the way.
This guy, he's always yelling at the top of his lungs.
That's crazy.
Just keep your voice down.
It's crazy.
And then you know what? Your kids will benefit from it too.
For sure.
It's such a simple thing. Just don't raise your voice.
And they won't. Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy.
Because when you raise your voice, you start getting angry too. You get more angry.
You're using more energy too. You get more frustrated.
And then the other person understanding makes you more upset.
Don't get me wrong. Like, we'll go monotone and be like, I understand she's mad at me and she understands I'm mad. We get it. But again, we just don't raise our voice. I think that's like a key hack that no one does, and they should. It's super underrated. Yeah.
There's actually a spiritual saying that it goes, when two people are close to each other in proximity and they're raising their voice, it's because their hearts are further apart.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Bars.
Yeah. I think in general with relationships, I think, it's funny because Valeria and I just recorded a couple of days ago an episode on divorce.
Okay.
And our opinions on divorce in general. And I think it's just too easy for people to split up right now.
Fair.
In society as a whole.
It's so normalized.
It's very normalized. And the stats are like
50%.
Sorry, I think it's like 56.
Yeah.
Wow.
So fucked.
No, but it's nonsense.
Wow.
It's nonsense. And what's interesting about that is that when people contemplate getting divorced and they actually pull the trigger and get divorced. Now, don't get me wrong, because I know you know how it is in this business, right? You say something and then like the fringe will come out saying, but how about in the case where he beats her ass? Yes, if he beats her ass, you should get divorced. Okay, let's just say that, guys. If anybody's getting beaten, divorce. Okay, cool. But let's just talk about, let's talk generally.
Hey, some countries that's a sign of love.
Holy fuck!
Well,
Not where I'm from, but
I don't know those countries.
Yeah, I don't know. What are you talking? That's not a thing.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Making shit up,
no, that's okay. That's okay. But in general, what I was saying was that barring these extreme situations, when it comes to divorce, it's like if a person after, let's say, 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years, they're sick of that person and they're getting divorced, what's going to happen is the next person, the same 5, 10, 15 years will pass and they'll be sick of that person too. I just believe in working things out. I'm just a big believer in working things out, and largely on behalf of the kids.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think people who come from like broken homes like I do, and quite frankly like Valeria does, I think we carry a little bit of like just fucked up trauma.
For sure.
And it doesn't serve you. It doesn't.
For sure.
So I think it's good to work things out.
Oh, for sure. Okay, now I also want to talk about, I'm sorry, ask some family questions here.
No, do it.
But you got 3 boys.
Yeah.
Looks like you're raising them in a certain way. Do you have an expectation of them to be in a certain career? Like, do you want them to be in the same realm in content space, or where's your stance with that?
I want them to be intentional, and I want them to be successful.
Yeah.
So my kids are like 11, 9, and 5.
Yeah.
And my 9-year-old said to me, I want to be a rapper, or I want to be a singer. And he's made those statements. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
I go, but you got to be famous.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, then you got to be good at it. Like you got to be good enough that you can actually make money. He goes, yeah, but maybe money, like, it's not about the money. I go, wait, it is about the money. It is about the money, because the money is like, that's your score.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Like XP.
Like XP?
Yeah,
like
your score, points. Experience points.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. So to me, it's like, if you're gonna, I want them to do something that they're gonna be good at, and they're gonna be passionate about, because I feel that if they're good at it, and I see effort, I just want to see effort. Whatever they do, I want to see effort, because I believe the money and the success will come. I believe it'll come if they just put in a lot of effort and energy into it. So to me, I don't have this like notion of I want them to be a certain thing. I'm a little, maybe it's like a bit of a tangent, but I'm a little disheartened with formal education and the state of formal education just in general, in this country, in Canada, it doesn't matter where. So I don't know that their path is going to be in the traditional path of going to university, getting a degree, and then, so I don't know. I want them to do something they're passionate about. I want them to do something that they're just really good at, you know, and just be the best at. You know, I remember hearing the story about Drake and how he told his dad, he said, you know, I want to be a rapper. And his dad, who was also a musician, his dad said to him, you have to be a rapper and a singer. You can't be one. You have to be both. You have to be, and he is, right? I mean, he crushes it at both. And he said you have to be both, because his dad understood that in order to succeed and in order to differentiate yourself, you got to be multifaceted. You got to be good at both. And so he took that advice. So I want my kids to be just good at what they do, you know?
Okay, and then last family question, we can move on to the next thing here. But what advice would you give to parents on like raising, whether it's boys or girls, but just, I feel like you got some wisdom
are you
here.
expecting, bro?
No, but I just, he's got some wisdom, he obviously has experience, but what advice, general advice would you give to someone, especially in your case, right? Because people listen to this podcast, ideally want to be successful one day, and with money, it gets a whole nother realm, right? If you grow up poor, you have that natural ambition in your heart, or at least some people do, that they want to make it out. But when you're on the flip end, where you came from a wealthier family, you don't have that natural ambition, right? So how are you, as like a wealthy father, we could say, trying to raise your kids to make sure that they're not going to be lazy and be more ambitious? That's a loaded question.
I try not to do stuff for them.
Fair.
Yeah, trying to do stuff for them. You know, like, guys, even today, I was just like, you got to go clean up this, clean up that. No, I don't want to. You know, I'm like, there's no, I don't want to. Like, let's say when they say the word can't, I'm like, what is that? What is that? What does that mean? What is that? What did you say? Can't. I'm like, how do you even spell that? I don't even know that word. Like, you're not allowed to use that word in this house. There is no can't. Look, it's hard, man. I mean, it's dependent on each kid. One of the things that you said, though, is you said, you know, people, they want to become wealthy. They come from nothing, like I did, like my wife did. And, you know, they want to become wealthy and they're motivated, this and that. One of the things I will tell you is that when you have children, you have to prioritize those kids. And I'll tell you why, because it won't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what that score is going to be from a dollar perspective if your kids are fucked up.
For sure.
If your kids are, you know what I mean? So I'm very protective of my kids. And when I say I'm protective, so here, I'll give you the advice you're looking for. I'm very protective about who my children are exposed to. And what I mean by that is I won't put my kids in a position or in a situation where there's a lot of negative shit going on, or shit that, like, let's say, for example, I talked about not raising your voice. If I know that there's a family that my kids like go to their house a lot, and I know that the parents are always screaming at each other, my kid won't go to that house anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a drinker. I don't condone people who drink. I think people who drink, like, you know, in moderation is fine. But if I know that there's like someone who excessively drinks somewhere, my kid's not going to where that place is. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of practical like limitation and controlling kind of what environments your children are in, I think that's really important. A lot of people underestimate that. And what I think a lot of people do, and they make a mistake doing, is they don't want to hurt the feelings of a person by saying, oh, you know, my kid can't come over to your house. At the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings and disrespect people, but I'm going to prioritize my kid over your feelings. Right? So I think prioritizing your children's well-being and what they're exposed to, because when I think back to my own childhood and the traumas I was exposed to, and again, like, I'm the son of immigrants who came to this country, or who came to Canada in their mid-30s. They didn't speak English. They had no money. They're products of, you know, being raised in the USSR, in like Soviet Union, were Jewish, super anti-Semitic place that they came from. So they were timid, scared people, and they were put in a very difficult situation, having to raise children with no money, no English, no contacts, no nothing. And, you know, I was raised based on that. And I was raised in this like kind of mentality of fear all the time. And so the thing is that to answer your question, don't put your kids in situations where that stuff is going to stick, like that stuff may seep into them.
Yeah.
So I put my kids in a place, like when I chose the school for my kids, like I met the owners of the school. Like I knew the owners of the school. Like I actually met them socially. And I knew where they were going, and I understood the mindset of the people.
Yeah.
And those people in particular, they had gone through some shit, and they became super successful. They sold their companies for high 9 figures. Great people, wonderful people. But I knew that they didn't come from like generational wealth.
Right.
They made it on their own. They're actually both on my podcast, both of the owners of the school. One's already out. The ones I recorded a couple of weeks ago, it's coming out next week. But like, I'm that granular about it.
Yeah.
So I put my children in a school where I know the entrepreneurs who started that school. They went through a very difficult time. They excelled in business. They healed their traumas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So put your kids in the right place. I think that's the advice. Sorry to be so long-winded, but
that was actually perfect.
put your kids in the right place and mind how you behave in front of them. You don't want your
no
kid
more drinking, bro.
Crazy.
You don't want your kid to like drink alcohol excessively, let's say, when they're older. Don't drink around them.
Fair.
Or limit it. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Be the example for your kids of who you know how you want your kids to be.
Fair. Okay, and sorry, I gotta ask another question.
No, bro.
No, why are you sorry, man? This is a podcast. You're supposed to be asking questions.
No, because this is actually an interesting question. How old were you when you got married to Valeria?
I was 39.
39, and prior to that, were you married?
No.
No. Okay, because this is a question.
Why don't you ask me how old Valeria was when we got married?
How old was Valeria?
She was
when you got
21.
married? She was 21.
I'm 18 years older than her, yeah.
Okay. No, the question I'm asking is not the question that you think I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, I got married at 22 years old, right? A lot of my friends ask me, yo, you think I should get married young too? And I say, probably not, because as you know, a relationship is very taxing, right? Why did you wait so long to get married?
I didn't wait.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I wasn't waiting. I just didn't meet the person that I wanted to marry.
Fair.
I didn't settle.
Fair.
I proposed to Valeria after 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I knew. And look, the thing is that to me, when I was already, in that age in my 20s and early 30s, mid 30s and getting into my late 30s, to me, the negative of not being married was actually much more palatable for me than the negative of marrying a bitch who would ruin my life, quite frankly.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So to me, when I thought about like marrying the wrong person, that was far more scary to me than getting married late.
Oh, for sure.
The other thing that helped a lot is my mom didn't put any pressure on me.
Fair.
She never said, she's like, don't marry the wrong person. And when I was already in my like mid 30s and she was getting nervous, she's like, listen, worst comes to worst, your kids will be younger than your friends' kids.
Yeah.
And, so I would tell people, like, it's not a matter of getting married young, getting married late. Like, it's a matter of you have to marry the person who you really love, who you can grow with.
For sure.
One other thing I just want to say about marriage, just in general, I think one of the key things in marriage, to making marriage last, is understand that human beings are ever evolving.
Oh, for sure.
Right? We're moving targets. Valeria, and the older you get, the slower you change. Yeah. Meaning, this is important. When I married Valeria, I was 39 years old. Valeria was 21 years old. Valeria now has a more mature version of the man I was when I was 39.
For sure.
Okay? Valeria is now 33. I met her when she was 21. I now have a completely different woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when human beings, and this isn't a gender thing, but when a human being from the age of like, let's say, for example, like, early 20s to like mid 30s, it's a complete transformation. It's a complete evolution transformation. Right? Sure. When a person's in their late 30s, to me now I'm in my early 50s, it's different.
For sure.
I'm an evolved version of my 39-year-old self.
Yes.
So we don't stop changing. The type of change becomes different, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure, that makes sense. Yeah, it was just a question I had because I wondered, obviously, like, when I got married to my wife, I had a bit of success. It was very early. When I quit my 9 to 5 and took content full time, right? I thought that was a good time. I was dating her for, I think, 6 years at the time. But people ask me sometimes, because I got married young, like, she get married young? And I'm like, depends, right? If the woman's going to hold you back, probably not, right? So I was just curious in your case.
I think it depends on the individual. Like
Fair.
it's very, individual. It's very individual. I just know that like kudos to you because if you were able to get married at 22, you have a level of maturity at 22 that I for sure didn't have. At 22, I was just like, I was a child.
Fair.
Fair. All right. Well, let's talk a bit more about content, shall we?
Sure. Whatever you guys want.
Let's do a quick stuff about content. We'll go to the final four.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So you obviously have your own podcast. We have our podcast. Does your podcast make money?
No, my podcast is a hobby.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit on hiatus with it now. No, my podcast is something that I just did because I just thought it would be fun. It didn't really even. I don't think it's. I don't know. We'll see if it makes money. I don't know. It's not something that I do. It's not like I have enough business ventures and interests and things that I'm working on that it's more of, for me, it's fulfilling. I enjoy speaking with people. I enjoy being, in this seat and asking the questions.
Yeah.
I enjoy extracting knowledge from people.
Sure.
I find that people are far more open when there's a purpose, like a podcast, to sit down and share your knowledge.
Sure.
I find people are more generous with that. So I really enjoy it for that reason.
Oh, for sure.
I enjoy bringing value to the people who are, watching it. There's a guy named Aaron Spivak. You know the name Aaron Spivak?
Spivak, no.
You know Hush Blankets?
Yes.
So Aaron's sold
Big
Hush
company.
Blankets. Yeah, he sold Hush Blankets to Sleep Country Canada for $48 million. Wow. Aaron's not even 30 years old. Aaron and I, we knew each other before. We were like acquainted before, but then he came on my podcast and now he's my boy. Like he's my friend now.
Yeah,
and it was a 3-hour podcast. Wow. And in that 3 hours, like he really is just like such a genius when it comes to e-commerce. And being able to extract that information and him so generously sharing it, it's podcasts like that is why I do it.
Oh, for sure.
The other benefits to podcasting, is the networking. It's the credibility.
For sure.
It's, the credibility is great because now when I speak with people, a lot of the times they've already seen the podcast.
Yes.
Or if they haven't, they'll meet me. And the second time I meet them, they'll Google me, they'll look me up and they're like, and I don't have a big audience or anything, so I don't have that credibility.
Yeah.
But just like your podcast, and by the way, do you know why I did your podcast?
Why?
Shoot.
Well, when you guys asked me, right?
Yeah.
Why I said yes, because your podcast is professionally produced. You have an audience. You do have an audience, and I'm not downplaying that, but I see like you have true intention in your podcast. Like you're invested in your podcast. Like your heart is in your podcast. Like I see, you're thoughtful about who your guests are. You're thoughtful about your questions. So look, I think podcasting it's a great tool. I don't think people should go into podcasting saying this is my moneymaker.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They should
confirm.
What's that?
I said we can confirm.
Yeah. For now, I mean, some podcasts will get picked up.
Surprisingly, we actually did this calculation a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
We are actually in profit.
Some story.
Should we tell the story?
Yeah.
Right,
So
tell the story, bro.
So we went and we got cigars, right? As you do, as men. And we went by the beach late night. We were smoking
Here in Miami.
Yeah. Like 2 days ago, yeah.
Well, not in Toronto. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no.
By the beach, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's beaches there.
Yeah,
There
there's
is.
beaches.
It's fucking sad to call those beaches after what we've seen over here.
Crazy.
But we're smoking cigars and we're just talking. We're like, yo, bro, this fucking podcast. Like, why the fuck are we even here? What are we even doing? Whatever. And we're like, yo, let's calculate how much money have we made. And let's play a game. Do you want to guess from the day we started, so a year ago, till now, how much money do you think the podcast has made?
So the only places you would have made money on that podcast is if you put I'm assuming you put the full version on YouTube.
Yes.
So you probably have some YouTube revenue there. I don't know, man. In the last, how long? Year and a half. I'm guessing you don't have any direct sponsorship deals, or you do?
We did. We've had a couple.
Not long term. Really short.
Right. So you had some transactional ones. I don't know, maybe 10 to 15K in revenue.
Yeah, she's spot on. Yeah, it's 10K.
Yeah, it was about 10K.
Then do you want to guess how much our expenses were?
Yeah. You go once a week?
Yeah, once a week.
Yeah, sure.
Your expenses in the last year between $45,000 to $60,000.
Oh, what the fuck? No.
Is that higher than? Is that way higher?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. You guys are doing the work yourselves?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's why.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the luxury of doing the work myself. Yeah. No, I pay a production company to do it. Yeah. I wish I had time to sit and edit my own videos. I don't even know how. Yeah.
God.
Fair. Well, no, there you go.
Yeah.
Spend about 10 grand.
10 grand. Okay. So then
that
you're breaking even.
Yeah, that includes this trip.
Without
this trip.
But you guys are ripping your own reels. You're doing all that editing yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
why
why
they work.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
Look, you gotta keep at it. I mean, the fact that it's in the first year and that you're even breaking even,
Cool.
taking into account that you're both doing it full time and you're putting in the effort, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, you need to continue doing it. That's a thing. And like, here's the thing: when it comes to content creation, like when I look at the people who are going to be members of my community, and I have a paywall, like I have an annual fee. I'm not the promise that like I'm making to people, or like the value that I'm trying to bring to them from a business development, like a business opportunity perspective, isn't, hey, you're going to make millions of dollars a year, or or you're going to be the next Joe Rogan, or you're going to be the next Valeria. You're not. That's not the promise. The amazing thing about what's going on right now, and that never happened before in my generation, is that you can make, as like an individual creator, $100,000 a year. You can make $150,000 a year.
For sure.
You can do that, whereas before you couldn't do that. I recently had a young woman, a lovely, lovely girl. Her name is Kiara. She lives in Toronto, and she does content about acne. So there's apparently an acne community. I didn't know.
For sure.
And she does skincare. And she didn't tell me exactly how much she makes, but before she was doing this, she was an esthetician. And so I asked her the question. I already knew the answer to it was, do you make more money being like a content creator than, and she has like about 104,000 followers, and she's like, way more money. And so that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity for people. So the great thing about it is that you have the opportunity to, and it's probable that you will make income that is far superior to employment income, right?
Oh,
it is probable.
Oh, for sure.
So that's not a lottery. It's probable. But then you know what else you have with that probability of the high probability of making very good and stable equivalent of employment income. You also have the lottery ticket, essentially, that you might blow up at any moment.
Yeah.
So to have both the stability of making, let's say, a six-figure or multiple six-figure salary, plus you have the potential to blow up, I think it's the best time in human history for young people to be able to to do this. And then, well, the other thing that I was going to say is that for this young woman who was an esthetician, not to take anything away from an esthetician, making $35,000 or $40,000 a year, and I didn't ask her how much she makes, but I'm guessing she makes like a good six-figure income. Like, to be able to do that in the old model, which unfortunately a lot of people are still, I want to say, victims of, going back to my statement about formal education, those people, like, to make 100, 152, 300,000 a year, you got to go and get like a designation. You got to get a CPA or get a law degree, or become a medical technician of some kind. Like, well, now you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't have to invest in 6 years of education at whatever it is, 20 grand. You don't have to invest $120,000. And not that I'm pitching my stuff, but you can come and for $3,000 a year, you can be a member of a community like mine, teaching people how to be a creator from people who have done it.
Yeah.
Not from professors who haven't done shit.
Facts.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of investing 120 or 150,000 in an education and hoping to make 80,000 a year with the math that, in 10 years, my 80,000 a year, I'll get raises. Maybe in 10 years, I'll have made like $1 million in total, and I invest on 150,000. That's a great return on my investment.
Woo!
Or you can pay, $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, because now a lot of creators have these communities and they have these academies, and they're teaching people from experience, like what we're doing. One of the things that Aaron told me, I wanted to bring this to your attention. One of the things he told me, and this is really interesting. He was at York University and he took a course in crowdfunding. So he paid a $5,000 tuition to take a course in crowdfunding. And Aaron went to, this is the guy who sold Hush Blankets.
Yeah.
And Aaron went to the professor, after class one day, and he said, hey, listen, can you just tell me the crowdfunding campaigns you did? I want to take a look at them. I want to understand and analyze them. And then I want to come back and I want to learn some more from you and ask you questions about it. The professor's like, well, I didn't actually do any of that. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean you didn't do any of that? He goes, I didn't actually do any crowdfund. I didn't actually.
That's crazy.
He goes, well, how are you teaching this shit? And he's like, well, I don't know. I just kind of I learned it and
It's crazy.
So then Aaron went to the dean and he goes, I want my money back. And the dean says, no, you can't get your money back. He goes, but this is a scam. You put me in a room with a guy who hasn't even done shit. He hasn't done the thing that he's teaching me how to do.
Yeah.
How is he qualified to teach me how to do this? And the dean said, no, Aaron quit school that day.
That's crazy.
And he dropped out of York University, and he created a company, and he made $48 million.
That's crazy.
That's what
legendary.
right. That's kind of the state of the world today, right?
Yeah.
Is like if you're a content creator, or not even if you're
Anything,
anything that you want to do, you can take a course. You want to be a realtor? There's dudes out there men, women. There's people out there that you can
them too, eh?
Yeah, no, let's not start. There's people out there that you can buy a course from. You just got to make sure they're reputable, who have actually done it.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful because there's a lot of guys out there who are scammers too.
Oh, for sure.
Who who are leasing a Lambo and doing
Just like the school. Unqualified
But the
to teach.
school
They just don't lease the Lambos.
but they use this other thing, their brand. It's like we're Harvard, we're this, we're that.
McMaster.
McMaster, sure.
Crazy.
Fuck's sake. That's actually fucking
God.
jokes.
No, that was interesting.
Also, I feel like we should just clarify. The podcast isn't what we do full time. We obviously aren't living off. We're not on welfare. You know,
Crazy.
we don't live in metro housing. You know, we actually do other shit too.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd say
Businessman.
that.
Sell
But
drugs.
hey, man, like I said, your kid's an environment, man. I'm telling you.
Crazy.
Let's do the final four.
Let's run to the final four.
Okay, so we're gonna do our final fourth segment for the show.
Sure.
4 questions, and we want you to do it rapid fire, first thing that comes to your mind. So the first question: if you had to swap lives with someone for 24 hours, who would you pick?
Nobody.
Fair. We had that answer a couple times.
No,
Fair.
my fucking life's great.
Cool.
Phenomenal. Who would you say is the most motivational person of all time for you?
I don't know. The most motivational person?
I guess first
It's
person that comes to your
fucking
mind.
just me, man. I just like it's me against me. I wish I could, tell you. I think it's an aggregate of a lot of different people. If I had to really think about it, I have a lot of respect for Gary Vaynerchuk.
I was gonna say. I was gonna guess Gary Vee.
I met him and I spent a little bit of time with him, and I gotta say he is a solid guy. Like he literally, it was actually at one of his parties, one of his like promotional events here, like 5 minutes from where we're sitting, and he just like stopped. He was introduced to me. We have some mutual kind of friends and people in business, and he just like in a crowded party just stood with me for like 10-15 minutes. He's like asking me like, tell me what's up. Like you could see like the way he engaged and the way he looks you in the eye. He actually cares. So he's he's actually the person that So I'm really impressed with him. He's a motivational guy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Are you good with a Gary Vee impression or no?
If I can do a Gary Vee I don't know. I can't do impressions. I wish I was so talented. Sorry.
That would have been funny. Imagine he just.
Sorry.
Let's just say your whole life from the day you were born till now is written in a book. What would the title of that book be called?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Fire.
And last and final question: if today was your dying message to the world, what would your final message be?
Same as the title of my book.
Keep going.
Go on.
Just keep going. There's no other way. The thing is that you only fail when you stop. When you fail, when you give up. And so no matter how hard things get, you just gotta keep going.
Fair.
Because activity and intention will eventually get you to the other side of whatever your goals are.
Phenomenal.
Fire. Well,
Phenomenal.
wanna take it away?
This is a lot of fun, guys. Thank you.
No,
Thanks
for
for the
sure.
invite, by the way.
For sure.
Appreciate you guys. This was just a small glimpse of Gary. Gary has a whole podcast himself, and we're gonna link it down in the description below. And I just realized his name's not Gary. Your name's like
It is
It
Gary.
is Gary.
Oh man.
Long day, eh?
Fuck. No, it's
he said Gary
Gary
Vee.
V. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, did I forget? Oh,
No, it's Gary. You got it right, man. You're good. You're doing well.
Oh man, I quit today. Crazy. But we're gonna link Gary's links in the description below. Make sure you check out his podcast. He's some amazing guests on there as well.
Yep.
That wraps up the episode. Until next time.
Remember, stay seeking success.
Boom.
That was a good show.
That's great, guys. Good job. Good job.
Bro, you know what's so trippy? Literally.